Today, I'm going to be answering some of your questions as it relates to working with the biological family. So, I have your questions here and we're just going to chat through them. I hope it helps you work through your relationships. All right, so the first one is I've never met the child's parents. I drop them off at the visit and I only see the worker. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing. Is that how it goes? So, yeah, this can happen sometimes. For some situations in some counties, they will have the foster parent bring the child to the visit center, and the worker comes out, gets the child, brings them in, and then the worker brings them back to the car when it's over. And sometimes foster parents do not have a direct connection with the parent. Now, I always ask if that's in place for a reason. Is there a safety concern? Why the foster parent can't be interacting with the parent? It's good to bring those questions up because ultimately we can be a really supportive person in that family's life as the family works towards reunification. Something that you could do to get to know the parent is you could leave your information in a visit journal that is sent with the child. You could let the worker know that you're open to a phone call or texting or emailing with the parent. And it's kind of based on what the worker is willing to share as well. Sometimes there are policies in place where foster parents cannot communicate directly, but more often than not, it is okay to communicate. But as a foster parent, you may have to advocate for that communication. Okay, and this next question is someone asking about the visit journal. So they said, I sent the journal to the visit and their mom never writes anything back. I'm not even sure if she's reading it. Should I keep sending it? So a visit journal is a thing that goes back and forth. It's literally a journal that you write in updates about the child. You send it to the visit. The parent can read it and can write in any updates they have about the visit or questions they may have or concerns, and it gets passed back and forth. This is usually the initial way that foster parents can communicate with parents if they don't have that direct contact. Now, sometimes parents don't respond, and that could be happening for a variety of reasons. Maybe they don't know that the journal is there, so let the visit monitor know that there is a journal. Sometimes parents are really busy during their visit, so they're focusing on their child and they don't have time to read it and respond. I would also argue that maybe they are reading and just not responding. So I would always say, yes, you should keep sending the journal. If you are looking for a response, you can ask a direct question. You can let the monitor know that you're looking for a response because maybe they just don't know. Don't assume that they've been told about, what's going on or how these journals work. It could also be that the parent, it's not in their personality to respond in this way, but that's okay too. It's good as a foster parent to be communicating updates with their parent so that they are not missing milestones, they're not losing track about what's going on with their child. And so I always recommend to continue to send it, and maybe someday you will get a response back, and that can also be great too. Okay, so this person says that every time they interact with their child's dad, their dad is always pointing out something that they're doing wrong. They're not really sure about how to get the relationship back to neutral or positive. So I do hear this sometimes, and I have experienced this as well, that sometimes it feels like when we are dropping off a kid for a visit, there's always some type of complaint or some type of feedback. That could be something like related to what the kid's wearing or how their hair is done or something the child said that is concerning to the parent. And so the parents are talking to you about it. So first I would pause and reflect that it's a positive thing that the parent is communicating these concerns to you directly. I find that direct communication can be really good for problem solving, and you can work through things together. Of course, if you feel like there is an elevated concern or you are not comfortable with the exchange, make sure you do get the worker involved. But I think when a parent is talking to you directly, it's a good starting place. It's also important to remember that there is so much happening in this parent's life that we don't know about or we don't fully understand. They're really worried about their child. I mean, if you think about, when you send your kid to a new school or new daycare or camp, you probably are really hyper focused on the details, and maybe you are sharing your concerns with the daycare provider. And so it is often very similar to that. They are focusing on what they see and know and hear from the child, and they're concerned. And so I think that this is really where foster parents can step in and use some professional problem-solving skills, just like you would in the workplace. I like to reiterate what the concern is to make sure that I understand it. I like to talk about any type of way to remedy the situation. I like to talk about maybe explaining what is going on. I like to get their feedback and, of course, loop in a third party, that caseworker, to help mediate the situation if needed. I find that if you are receptive to feedback, if you're listening, if you're finding compromises in a professional manner, that these types of interactions diminish over time. All right, this person writes, I'm hearing from the parents all the time. I'm struggling with how to keep everything organized, getting back to them quickly, and also managing everything the kid needs as well. So sometimes parents will text or call or email you and get in contact with you, and it might feel like it's a lot to manage, or it's excessive, or you can't keep on top of it. I always recommend from the beginning knowing what your boundaries are first. So like, what are you able to do? So are you able to send one text a day? Are you able to take a phone call a day? When are you able to do phone calls and text messages? So before you dive into your next relationship with a parent, make sure you understand what your boundaries are, because then we can communicate them to the parent and also the worker to reiterate your boundaries. So it's okay if you haven't done that, but I think that's a good starting place. If you're already sort of in the relationship and this is happening, it's okay to take a pause and say something like, there's a lot happening right now with work, and so it'd be really helpful if we kept our communication within these hours. Or you could say, I have received your messages. I will respond to you at the end of my workday, which is at 6 p.m. Then hold to the boundary. So if you told the parent that you will respond to them at 6 p.m. or later, then that is what you would do. Of course, if there's any emergencies, you would contact the parent immediately. And I have told parents that as well. Listen, if there is an intense situation happening or an emergency with the child, I will of course let the parent know. Anything else, pictures of the kids or what's going on or anything like that can happen within a schedule. So I always recommend getting that schedule set with the parent so that everyone's on the same page. All right, and this person asks about visits. So the parents are bringing gifts to the visits, and I don't have room in my home to store everything. What should I do? Sometimes at visits, parents will bring gifts, toys, food, snacks, candy for the kids. And the idea is this is a point of connection. They're thinking about their children. This is often written into the notes for the visit. So it's often seen as a positive thing because the parents are thinking about and providing for their children. So first, it's good to kind of like center ourselves in that this is a positive thing in many circumstances. Enter it from that point of view. From there, of course, there are constraints. If you're getting a whole new bag of toys every week, your playroom might be filling up quickly. So here are some things that you might consider doing. So first, you could tell them that you'll be bringing the toys for the visits. And so there will always be toys from the parents at the visits. We've kept like certain bags or bins of toys from the parents, and we play with them at home and then bring them to the visit. And this is a way to, show that they have their items, they're enjoying those items, but more is not as necessary. You can also just be very honest with the parent and say, we love all the toys you've been giving them. The child's been playing with them. We're running out of space. So would you like us to send them back to you and you can hold on to them for reunification, or how would you like us to handle that for the child? Sometimes I'll have bins together of past gifts that the child has aged out of, for example, and I always keep everything, but I could let the parent know like, hey, I've collected some things that the child's not playing with anymore. Would you like me to put them in storage for now, bring them back to a visit, and kind of just have an open conversation with the parent? Ultimately, if you are not able to find a compromise or a solution, you can ask the worker to come in and help you guys find a solution as well. There's going to be plenty of nuanced situations or tricky situations that come up with parents, but it's really important that we go through them one by one, try to navigate them with an open mind and understand that parents are also in crisis. They've experienced a traumatic situation as well. And so if we can just work through things in a professional manner, oftentimes these disagreements and moments can be resolved, and they do diminish over time. So thank you for everyone who is really caring about these relationships and putting the work in, because it is definitely worth it.